Good evening. All right, get everything turned on here. All right, I think we are good to go. If you'll go ahead and bring up the presentation. I want to first just say that I appreciate the opportunity I have tonight to talk about our trip to Panama. I appreciate the elders for giving me that opportunity, and just really been looking forward to this as we've come back from it. So much to talk about, so much to show. So 2016 Panama, what this involved this year was, is this too low or too high? Is that all right? All right, is that any better? All right, there we go. All right, so as we were in Panama, or rather, let me back up. June 5th to the 11th, we went to Panama this year, and we went again with the same group that we had gone to Nicaragua with last year. And it was a great experience for us. A lot of the people that were there with us we knew. A lot of them hadn't been before, and so it was about half and half, so we were able to meet a lot of people. Had about 40 of us go. And so anyway, we'll get into this tonight. First, context. I want to talk about context. And whenever we're doing a Bible study, whenever we're doing anything like that, we always look at context first, right? So the context is, where is Panama? Now, I'm not talking about Panama City, Florida. My aunt and uncle and cousins live in Panama City, Florida, and they've tried to get me to go there for years, and we just haven't made it down there yet. But we did not go there, but we actually went to the country of Panama, and we went to Panama City, Panama, originally, and then from there flew to Bocas del Toro. So most of our trip was in Bocas del Toro. So first here I have for you the Americas. And so we have North America and South America. These are the two continents here. And towards the southernmost part of North America is a region called Central America that's made up of 7 countries to the south of Mexico and north of Colombia. So south of Mexico there, down to and including the red, which is Panama. I don't know if you can see that okay. That is considered Central America. So the thing about Panama interesting is that it's an isthmus, which is a very cruel word because you can't hardly get it out without spitting. But it's an isthmus, which is a narrow strip of land, like a land bridge, and it's at the southernmost part of Central America here. This, let's see. This picture here is called the Bridge of the Americas because it's a non-swinging bridge that connects the two American land masses. So our hotel in Panama City when we first flew in was right here. This was right outside of the hotel, which is real close to the Panama Canal. So that was really interesting to see that right away. Okay, so here's what we did. We went there for the purpose of teaching vacation Bible schools for kids on many small islands of the province of Bocas del Toro, which is in northeast Panama. We had 40 campaigners from 5 different congregations conducting 11 vacation Bible school sessions on 11 different islands. And then at nighttime, we would all come back from the different islands that we visited, come back to the main island of Bocas del Toro for a gospel meeting there that included children's classes. So you see here some of the small islands. I mean, there's tons and tons of islands, small islands, but of the ones that we visited are these 11 here. And the way we did it was there were 40 of us in our group. We split into 2 groups of 20, and each of those 2 groups of 20 would go to an island or 2 per day. And so of the 20 that was in our group, we would actually go in 2 different boats because we'd have about 10 people on each boat going to the different islands. So it was quite interesting. You can see there are total children's VBS attendance for the combined. This isn't one night or one day or anything, but combined is 713 kids. And I didn't count all those, but I can say that number, it's like herding cats. So counting a herd of cats, I'm going to say that's a pretty general number, but I would say that's probably pretty close. There's kids coming and going all over the place, but it was great. For the gospel meetings, we had 483 adults over about a 4-night span, and 205 in the children's classes. Then there were 6 baptisms, 5 of them in one night, in the last night, and then 2 restorations. So it was a great time for us to be there and for them to be able to have this and have us there with them. Okay, so the way I've kind of presented this tonight, or I'm going to present this, is as lessons learned on the mission field in Panama. Things that we've learned, things that we saw, and things that I want to share with you. And the first thing that we learned is that the Lord's church is alive and well in Panama. I want to mention here that the members encouraged us as much as we encouraged them. When we think of doing mission work and going to a foreign land and we're going to help people one way or another, it's easy to maybe be in the mind frame of all these poor people that we're going to help out, and it's not like that. We go there and we are an encouragement to them, but just as much we were so encouraged by different things. One of them is the singing. The singing was wonderful, especially when we both sang at the same time. So here's what I mean by that. Actually, I'll go through some of the slides here as I'm talking. We would sing, say, "Humble yourselves on the side of the Lord," or "The Greatest Commands." And granted, there were 40 of us there from the States, and we were very fortunate because most of those people that were there were really good singers and really enjoyed singing and singing out. So we would sing at the hotel at night, we would sing at breakfast, and it was really great for us. But so we would be in the church, or usually in a gymnasium at night at the gospel meeting, because the church building didn't hold everybody. We'd be in this gymnasium and we would all sing the greatest commands in English. And then we would stop, and then everybody else in there would sing the greatest commands in Spanish. And it was just really neat. And then we'd sing Trust and Obey. And it was neat because when it's the turn of the Spanish people to be speaking and singing and everything, leading the singing, we would still go ahead and sing, although we were singing the English words, but it was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. So that was just such an encouragement that we both sang so many of the same songs. So the picture you're looking at here is the first congregation that we went to, Iglesia de Cristo, Church of Christ. And so this one is on the mainland of Bocas del Toro. And the guy in yellow, I'll tell you about him a little later, but Abel Taylor is his name, and he is our buddy. He actually went with us. He was a translator for us last year when we went to Nicaragua. So our family has a rapport with him. We've known him. He's a part-time preacher, and he loves his cell phone and social media. It is so funny because he's on Facebook, posting things all the time, but it's really great because that's how we can see what's going on over there, and it's just really encouraging. This is the inside of that same building. And here we had this was the youth minister of the congregation in Chattanooga, East Tennessee, or rather East Ridge Church of Christ in Chattanooga. He was prepared for a sermon to speak at on this trip. Now this was Sunday night, and he was prepared for Sunday morning or Sunday nights. But they asked if somebody could speak on Sunday night. Did I say that right? He was prepared for Monday night, but they asked if somebody could speak on Sunday night. We're like, okay. And he says, well, I'm prepared. I have a sermon I've already prepared and I'm ready for. So he said, okay, you do that. And then Abel, who's in the yellow there, says, and he's on his phone, notice that. He said, okay, Chris, are you going to speak? I didn't know I was supposed to speak a sermon, but okay. So then I prepared something and spoke the next night. Okay, here's one of their songbooks, just a little thin songbook, but all right, here's one of the baptisms. Well, actually, I say one, but it was one right after another. They had 5 of them in a row here. Actually, I believe they had 3 that they had planned, and then a couple of others who had been thinking about it and they'd been studying with, and they were there, and they decided to go ahead and put on Christ in baptism as well, so that was great. Here are the 5 post-dunking. They're all dripping wet, you can see there. All right, here's another congregation we visited. This is in Kusapin. So this is a church building you're looking at. So church buildings come in many sizes, many colors, many textures. But here's the second one we visited. And this is a different one. That case that he's carrying here is part of the Vacation Bible School supplies. So what we would do is we would carry that and another one just like it and 2 other huge like army bags full of puppets and stage and candy and toys and everything on the boats with us every day and bring it back every day to every single island we went to. And mind you, I'm only going to mention this once because otherwise I'll sound bitter, but I'm not. But it was about 140 degrees there, it seemed like. Now, I know it wasn't, and about 180% humidity, which I know that can't be right, but if you were there, you would probably agree with me. It's the hottest I've ever been in my life, and the most humid I've ever been in my life. Again, I'm not going to go on about it in front of you, but it was hot. It was something else. All right, here's another congregation in Shark Hole, and that's the name of the little village there, is Shark Hole. They have Shark Hole that we were at. They have Tiger Island, Dolphin Bay, all these different kind of animal things, and they say it's because at one point there were sharks around here and there were tigers on this one island and different things, so kind of interesting. Then we have some situations where we went to an island that there's not a congregation there, but they're working on the people there and they're encouraging them and they're trying to get them to come to congregations at other islands and come to services, and they're coming. And so they're getting ready, on this particular island, they're getting ready to have a full-time preacher supported here, and then they'll come and they'll build a church building for them. But in the meantime, what we have here, this is the pavilion, and if you see that sign in the corner, that's a Rotary sign, the International Rotary symbol there, and it says Rotary Club of Bouquet, which is the island, work for the community. So it's kind of interesting that a good civic group built that, but then we're able to take advantage of that by having our Vacation Bible School there, and eventually going to be building a church there. So that's exciting. Again, church buildings come in every flavor. Here's another one. Here we've got a puppet skit going on, and we've got kids watching, and then you got one kid who just can't stand it, and he wants to see what's behind that curtain. And so we had to shoo him along. All right, and this is one of them. This is on Solarte, island of Solarte. The Church of Christ says here, I can't see it. Yeah, Matthew 16:18, Romans 16:16. So this was one of the congregations that had a more stable congregation. Okay, so now it's interactive time. What is this? What would you all think this is? Transportation, okay. A little more specific. I'll tell you, that's what took us out every day, but what this is a joy bus. This is their joy bus because there are no roads. There are no roads anywhere. The closest thing to a road they have on these islands is a sidewalk that has been poured many, many, many years ago on some of the islands that's about this wide, and it goes through the whole island. And that's the extent of transportation on the island. And then this is where they go from island to island to get supplies, to do whatever, to go to church services, to do whatever. And so this is what we traveled on, but you'll see later, this is also the joy bus, the equivalent of their joy bus. Now, so here it is. I had the opportunity, the guy in the red there, he's a member of the church. He grabbed me when we got to the one congregation and said, "Chris, come on." And I didn't really know him that well, but okay. So he takes me and we're getting on a boat, getting on the boat, which we just got there on, but just me and him. I'm like, okay, where are we going? And he said, we're going to go get kids. I'm like, okay, I'm cool for that. So we take off, and I don't know if some of you may have seen on Facebook, I was able to post it. I wasn't able to get it on here, but a video of a boat going through, looks like going through the jungle. It looks like something you see at Walt Disney World, of a boat traveling through the jungle. And that's what we were doing, and he was taking me through, and then we parked and got off and walked 100 miles, because that's what you do, to a house, and one kid yelled out, and then they ran off, and then we stood there for a while. I said, what are we doing? And then one of the older gentlemen came out of the house, and they spoke Spanish for a while, and he introduced me, and we just kind of piddled around. I said, okay, so what are we doing here? He said, we're getting people. Like, okay, this is how we get people. All right. Well, then 7 of them ran up, and then we waited on them. They changed clothes into their good clothes here, and we just, like the Pied Piper, we just took off back our 100 miles back to the boat, and they ran in front of us, and they all jumped on the boat. They know the routine. It was just really, really great. And this was very, very difficult getting them to smile at first. But I was really proud of that picture. That was the closest thing to smiles I got out of them, but that was a lot of fun. Some people on the most remote islands are very skittish. It might have been the first time they've seen people from the United States. For some of them, they didn't know. There's one picture on here I'll show you earlier or later, but I put my hand out to give a little kid a 5, and he just stared at me like I was trying to take something from him or something. So I grabbed his hand and gave him a 5, and then he kind of smiled. And so some people, we had the whole range of people who just didn't have a lot of exposure to anybody besides people on that island. So that was really interesting. Something else I just want to mention when I say the lessons learned on the mission field was that I want to mention that members of the church volunteered as our translators, as our teachers, and as our boat captains. Preachers from all over would come every day and help out in different capacities. Same in Nicaragua. When we were in Nicaragua last year, 2 people from Panama came to Nicaragua to translate. And for them, I believe that was a 4-day bus ride. But it was worth it to them. And to us, thinking a 4-day bus ride, that is incredible, and each way. But they just help out. That's the culture. People just help out. And so that's something that I would say was a lesson that I learned on this trip. So this guy here in the middle, the guy on the right is myself. The guy on the left is Shannon Sewell. He's my old roommate from college who got me involved with the congregation who does this. But the guy in the middle, he's a police officer, and he helped us out, but in addition to being a police officer, he's one of the part-time preachers. So it's just really great. It was great having him, and since then, he texts me all the time, or he did when we first got back. He has a little bit now, but he texts me, and it's really great. We're building these relationships that can carry on. This lady here, this lady is amazing. Her name is Myra. She is from David, which is 4 hours away from where we were. She's a preacher's wife, and she is a teacher. She's an elementary teacher, and she's very good. So she came and she helped us corralling the kids and teaching them songs and doing things with them. But again, she didn't come, not for any pay. There's no pay for her to be here. She stayed with family, and she brought her nephew, and they came and they were with us the whole week. And she was one of our translators, but then also helped us with just everything. Again, the church is alive and well, and we need to recognize that. All right. Lesson 2, less can be more. That's something we learned there. They have many less distractions. Now, a lot of the people in Panama do have cell phones. At some of the most remote islands, a lot of the people there don't even have cell phones. But otherwise, Other than the cell phone, there's not a lot of electricity, if any electricity. A lot of the islands, there is actually all of the island. None of the islands have electricity unless it's solar or like a battery powered or generator powered. But because of that and because of just whatever, they have less distractions. And I think about all the distractions that I have, all the distractions that we have. It's really encouraging to see that, and it reminds me that I have too many distractions in my life. I have too many distractions in my life when it comes to reading the Bible and praying and thinking about other people and serving others. Many people there read the Bible daily for hours, and I think I don't do that. Some of you do. But one thing that, to kind of put this in context for you, this is kind of what I come back to. My dad was born in 1951 in Mississippi, and I've been to the house that he was born in. He was born not in a hospital, but he was born in a house, and it was a two-room house, and it was a wooden house, and a lot of these houses that we saw there, all the houses here on stilts, but if they weren't on stilts, otherwise, a lot of these houses look just like the house that my grandfather had and that my dad was born in. So if he was born in 51, so I think back to, say, the 40s in America, that's a lot of how the people there are today. If you think about how 1940s America was here, you might not have running water, might not have electricity, but people survive. They're very, very hardworking. It's different than what we're used to, but we can learn from it. I think back to Grandma and Grandpa. You think of that image of them on the front porch just reading the Bible. Well, that's what these people are doing. Or maybe not on the front porch. Could be in a hammock in the house. But that's what they're doing. Okay, when I'm saying less is more, the idea of less is more, I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is something that somebody from the States had made for them at another time, and they have on their wall inside this church building. And can anybody see that or tell me what you think it says? It's Spanish. Right. Yep. The last one, siga Jesus. What is siga? Follow Jesus. Okay. So here we have the plan of salvation up. This is their welcome board. This is their bulletin board for visitors, if you want to say. This is what they do. It's very simple, very very fundamental, but this is it. This is exactly what we should be thinking about and pressing on and teaching people. This is the crux of the matter. So the police officer I told you about, June 16th, we got back June 11th, I guess. We got back and he texted me this: "God bless you, brother. Today we were in the brother's house, Cesar and his wife, Beatrice. We performed devotional for honor and glory of God." Now, this was out of nowhere, but I was very encouraged by him when I got this text from him. And you can see one of them is a Bible, I believe, and one's a songbook. Again, they encouraged us as much or more than we encouraged them. Okay, number 3, lessons learned. The language barriers can be the connector that you need. We think, I can't go somewhere that I don't know the language. I don't know Spanish. We know very, very, un poquito, very, very little Spanish. But it turns out that sometimes that language barrier can be exactly what you need to connect to people. And we found that out. And I've got a lot of pictures here I'll show you, but I'll kind of go through them. And the idea is here, the idea here is that we're playing with young kids, and we're playing football with teenagers, and we're working with adults and they are trying to help us because they know we can't speak Spanish, but they're talking to us and trying to help us figure out what we're trying to say. So here we have Emma with babies. No surprise there. If there was a baby, she was grabbing him. As part of this, I'll mention that if you recall, before we left, we asked to collect things from you guys. Someone contributed a ton of little Hot Wheels cars and little Beanie Babies. We asked that some of you clean out your toy boxes, and some of you did that, and we really do appreciate that, and I just want you to be able to see some of the fruit of that. There's Carter singing something or another, walking down the road. Here, handing out things. They've got little necklaces here. So I'm not quite sure what that face is about, but she is quite happy, giving us a thumbs up. But all these are just toys that you guys or other congregations donated. We were able to pass on, and they don't have any of this kind of thing. So this is like a gold mine for these kids. This is my mother-in-law, Wanda Seagraves, who was able to go with us, and she's teaching this kid how to play this game with a button on a string. You spin it around. This was a good picture. Just got them lined up. Kids are listening to the stories, to the skits. They're watching the skits. They're watching the puppet shows, and just hanging out. Some of the adults that I mentioned that help us out. This was the guy that was on the boat that I told you about, and we told him that we'd never had coconuts. And so he grabbed a ladder and talked to somebody whose house he knew up the road, and he got it and climbed up there. He got their machete out of their kitchen and just kept hacking at them. There's another stories with that, but cut a bunch of coconuts down for us, and we were able to drink fresh coconuts. That was really neat. But again, they were trying to help us as we were trying to help them. More of the play and, I guess, songs. I mentioned earlier I had the opportunity to speak, and here's the gymnasium that we were in. I'll tell you this story real quick. First of all, let me remind you, I did not know before going that I was going to be speaking, but I was able to put together a short lesson. Their lessons, they're a little different than us in that when we're done, we have an invitation song, right? At that invitation song, come forward if you want. If not, that's fine. In Panama, the tradition, and maybe other places too, in Panama, the tradition is, okay, that's round one. Okay, now you sit down. Now they get up, and now they go to their second point. When at that point, we're thinking, okay, what's he doing? He's getting back up. He's in overtime now. What's going on? And so then it happens again. There's another invitation song. They sit back down, and usually a third time. So that was something that was very different for us, especially when you've listened for an hour or so, and you're ready to stand up and sing and then get ready to go. Nope. So again, less distractions. They have a much longer tolerance or a patience level than we have. It's very interesting. So anyway, the situation here is, I didn't know it. No, this I did know. Before I spoke, I was sitting down there with them, and there was a bat flying in this gymnasium. This is an old gymnasium that I guess the city built and many, many years ago, because it's just falling apart all over the place. One night, power went out completely for a long time, and we just sang in the dark for an hour. But anyway, so a bat's flying around inside it, and I'm noticing this, knowing I'm about to get up and speak, and I can't like swat at it or anything if it attacks me. So finally, I see that it leaves the premises. It flies out of one of the windows, and so I'm okay. And then it's time for me to go up and speak, and I speak. And I have an interpreter, a translator, because I'm speaking in English. He's translating that to Spanish for me. And then I sit down, and I'm finally okay with it. I'm calm and everything. And then I look, and I realize, because the song leader's up there, and now he's leading some songs, and I look behind him, and the whole way of the back of the gymnasium, there's a rat. And it's just going back and forth and back and forth. And then Jenny, it was a big rat. And I didn't know that, and I'm glad I didn't know that at the time. But Jenny said when I sat down that you had some competition, and she explained it to me, and I saw that. So anyway, so I had a bat and a rat at the same time I was speaking. So that's something you can't say you did every day. All right. The fourth is a little goes a long way. And here's where we talk about toys. We talked about that. We collected toys from you and from others. The congregation at East High Church of Christ in Springfield, Ohio, where my mother-in-law attends, they had heard about, we had told them about, or we told Jenny's mom about Nicaragua on our trip last year, and one of the congregations had their older women make these dresses, and they're made out of pillowcase dresses, or not? Some of them are, or whatever. So anyway, so they made little dresses, and they ended up making like 230, 250, something like that. We brought those, and so we were able to give those away. A little bit goes a long way. We got help from the community while we were there. While we were at the hotel, like I said, we would sing in the mornings and everything like that, and she heard that. And she was from the United States, who owned this little boutique hotel, well, one of the only hotels. We didn't have a choice. But it was fine. It was nice and everything. But she heard us singing, and she has something to do with a nursing home that's close by. That is a nursing home for people who can't get into any other nursing home. So it's a lot of developmentally disabled people, people who can't eat and drink on their own and speak clearly and everything. So she heard us, and she said, how about you guys come and sing for us over here? Now, that wasn't on our itinerary, but we learned long ago itineraries change at the snap of a finger. So we did that. We thought, well, this would be some goodwill for her. So we did that, and we went to that nursing home, and we sang a long time. And I can tell you that the bonds and the connections that were made there, the people there just loved it. And that was some of the best memories that some of the people who were from the States who were there, that they talk about, is that they loved that moment as much or more than any other. So in turn, she fed us one night a free meal for all of us that was just incredible. It was really, really great. Another example of that, where we had help from the community, was that Abel, my friend Abel, he works for the government, just in an office job, but he works for the government. And he had told some of the people that he works for, that we were coming from the States for the church to do church work. And that was very impressive to the gentleman at the government building there. And so he said, do you need anything? And he said, well, maybe a car. And he insisted that they supply us with, I don't know what it was, a Navigator or a Escalade, all black tinted windows. It was a government car, brand new, but they insisted that we use that. So they sent that over and took some of our older people back to the hotel and that. And again, I just mentioned that as a little bit goes a long way, and it really did. And just that example, we had made an impression on them, and they made an impression on us as well. One other thing to mention here is that we found that $1,000, which seems like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but comparatively speaking, it's not. But $1,000 provides light for a solar panel for each church building there. I showed you their church buildings, and those church buildings are just fine in the daytime, but there's no electricity. So what some of the congregations are trying to do is, or in America, or in the United States rather, is collect $1,000. And I'm not asking you for that tonight. I'm just giving you another example of how little things for us go a long way. A solar panel there gives enough power to light 6 lights. And in these small buildings, that's all you need. It's just six outlets, 6 lights there. So they are trying, they've put a lot of them in so far. So just another neat thing, neat opportunity there. All right, so I talked about the toys and dresses, and I'll kind of flip through here. Kids loving their toys. All right, and here we've got football. Carter's teaching them American football because American football this is the only place that American football is. Football is soccer everywhere else. And I think sometimes they played with that football. They played soccer with that football, but it all works out as long as everybody's having fun. Here you see these dresses that we had taken, and here Jenny and Wanda are passing these out, and they're all different sizes, so they're fitting them. Here we go, and letting her see herself. So here they are modeling for us. She was an older child, larger, I guess, and so they had to dig through and find one that would fit her, but she was really excited. Okay, so here's something after we'd given out these Hot Wheels, they ran to this building that apparently is still being built, but they figured out that if they grab a 2x4 and they lift it up, then they can make a ramp. And so they were quite excited. I don't know if you can see his face or not, but he is just tickled pink about this ramp that they had made. Here we've got more little toys that were handed out. Here some of the ladies are making gift bags to hand out afterwards. While this is going on, the Vacation Bible School is going on in the main building. This is the preacher's house, which is right next door, and they are in the kitchen right now of the preacher's house. That's the kitchen table, and I say that kind of jokingly because there's no wall or anything. It's just out in the open, but that is the kitchen. So more passing out of things. I had this guy, he was up in the house and looking down and waving at me and holding these cars, and I said, hold on just a second. And so he posed for me. Okay, this is the one I was telling you about earlier that I went to give him a 5, and he just stared at me. He didn't know what I was going to do with my hand. So then we got cars and passed them out, and then we were all good. We were best friends after that. All right, and this is a touching picture for me, just watching, the people did appreciate it. This is my mother-in-law, Wanda, but just really connecting with people, and it was a great experience. Here's a picture of where we talked about at the nursing home where we sang, and I have some videos of it, but again, I couldn't get my videos to work on here, but I have some of the singing, and they really enjoyed it. Here we're sharing a moment with, this is Abel's mother, who makes by hand bags and different things like that. It's all natural, and she's showing this technique to my mother-in-law, who's very crafty, so it's really a neat moment for them to share intercultural crafting. All right, and the last thing here is that we have work to do. And Jenny and I had read this. I didn't come up with this, but we read this. It says, children who learn to sit still in church will sit still when they're adults. But children who learn to serve will continue to do so into adulthood. So the point here is we need to act. We need to serve. We have work to do. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying mission work in Panama. I'm speaking generally speaking. There's so much that we have to do, so much we can do here. And then another quote, to create lifelong Christians, we know the impact they can have, or who know the impact they have. We must use missions education as an exercise in servanthood, not as something that happens somewhere else by someone else. So here's an opportunity. We have the youth group who's going to be going on a mission trip to Rockport, Indiana. And just what a great way kids can get out of their neighborhood into another world and do some service for others. Involving children at every age makes the transition to leadership a natural one. So at every age, we've got to have kids just used to being servants. And then again, it just becomes natural. So what can we do? What can us at Summit do? Well, here's a couple of things I snapped today out of today's bulletin. Well, we got Vacation Bible School coming up. Is there anything that you can do for that? Yes, there is, absolutely. You can bring children, you can participate. And then just looking at all the other events that we have coming up. We've got the CTCC just down the road. We've got Vacation Bible School. We've got this teen domestic trip. We've got a men's retreat before too long. We've got the Friends and Family Day. There's a whole lot going on and a whole lot coming up that we can be part of, we can have our children involved in, and provide service for them. Okay, so that's my planned. I've got a couple of minutes left. I'm not going to go over, but I have a couple of extra photos I wanted to show you. Abel is in the middle here. Now he's changed shirts. That's Abel and his father and his mother. And I was really excited to meet his parents. And I'm always excited to meet people's families of friends of mine. So we went to Shark Hole, and that's where his parents live, and got to meet him. I told him, I insisted I wanted to meet him. And so he brought them to me. He got my attention, said, here they are. Oh, I'm so excited. So I got to meet him, and then they took me to their house, which was next door to the church, well, a little bit down from the church building. So they bring me up to their house, and here's his mom. And you can't really see it because it's kind of dark here, but look at that expression. She does not look very happy. And I was asking Abel, is she okay? Is everything? And, oh, yeah, she's great. Well, for whatever reason, a lot of people do not like smiling in pictures. You know, we're used to saying cheese and we smile, we see a picture and we smile, but some people, they're not used to taking pictures and they just look very solemn. If you think about even the United States, many, many years ago, you look at all the old pictures and families are just very, very solemn. Well, that's just how she is. So I was really tickled because I got her to smile and then snapped a picture. So that was really exciting for me. This is Abel's sister, one of his sisters. He has 12 siblings, and that's very common. They have many, many children there. And if you see here, so that's his sister, and that's her baby that she had just had that morning, right there. Again, something we're not used to. We're used to just running to the hospital, and you got all this planning, and you got doctors, and you got everything. Well, Abel's mother is the doctor of the neighborhood, or one of the helpers, at least, and just that morning, she had the baby right there on that mattress on the floor. So that was, when we said that, we kept thinking, okay, we're missing something in translation here. No, when did the baby arrive? No, this morning. Okay. And there she is. So we were doing a little visiting while we were there, you could say. This is just a picture of the hotel after we had left. I think the yellow building is our hotel. I forget now. Yeah, the second one over. It's Jackson down here. But a question for you. Do you know what this is? A what? Swinging bridge? No, it does look like that. This is a restroom. This is the potty. So you go out, you walk down here, you go to the restroom, there's literally a hole cut out in the wood, and I'll just say, if you're going to go snorkeling, this isn't where you want to do it. We learned early on, we'd wanted to go snorkeling, and then we found this out, we're like, well, we'll hold off, we're fine with that. So that's the restroom when you're on an island. Trees are just beautiful. These are mangrove trees and another house. Their houses are on stilts, not because they're afraid of flooding, but because of rodents, and they don't want that in the house, and airflow and everything else. That really helps out being up on stilts like that. One night we had a massive rain, and this is the street here, and you can see that the guy who was riding his bike right in the middle of the street, or was trying, but here's two old men complaining about what hurts. So that's me and Shannon. We were pretty tired. And this is getting towards the end, our touchdown. And finally, you can't have a PowerPoint of Latin America without a chicken in it, because chickens are everywhere. And I mean everybody has a chicken or two, and they're underneath their houses. That's where they make room for either their pigs or their chickens or whatever. So chickens are everywhere. Also, I was going to offer this for Vacation Bible School for Booster if you want this picture. We got that. Okay. And then our very last slide, I was told before I left, you have to have an obligatory sunset image for the end of a slideshow presentation. Brother Brian Jones told me that. He said, make sure you get a picture of a sunset. Like, okay, well, here we go. This is the last one. Anyway, all joking aside, this was an amazing opportunity for me and my family. And the congregation here, just letting you know, the congregation, the elders agreed to help us by contributing some money towards it for our family to go. And so I appreciate that. And anyway, bottom line is we learn these lessons on the mission field of Panama, but they are not just for Panama. They're not just for the mission field. The mission field can be right here in Campbell County, in Cold Spring, Alexandria, or wherever we are. So knowing that, if there's anything tonight that we can do for you, if there's anything that you need in the way of prayers, I would ask that you pray for our family, our friends and family, church family in Panama. If there's anything tonight that you need that the church can help you with, we ask you to come forward now as we stand and sing.